I'm Cheryl Ann Skolnicki, and this is Brilliant Balance, the show for those of us who still dare to want it all, who have big dreams and bold ambitions. I think we deserve to have a big, full life and the freedom to enjoy it. So let's design our next chapter together for brilliance, not burnout. Each week, I'll bring ideas, insight, and a fresh perspective to keep you growing into a life that feels as good as it looks. Brilliant Balance, your life, your way. Now let's get started. This is episode 427 of the Brilliant Balance podcast. Instead of resolutions, try this. All right, my friends, it is December 30th as this airs, and I know what you're thinking about. If you are like most women in the world on this date, you are starting to think about resolutions, right? This is when the gym memberships start getting purchased, the planners get purchased. Everyone is out there promising themselves a whole new life starting January 1st in just a couple of days. And I want you to just press pause on all of those instincts to set resolutions and don't do it. Not yet anyway. Because here's the thing. Resolutions are like fireworks, right? They're exciting and they're bright and they're dramatic, but they fade really fast. And when they fade, we are left with the guilt and the frustration, kind of that nagging feeling that somehow we failed, we're behind, like we suck, right? I think many of us have had this experience so many years in a row that it's almost a cliche at this point of where the drop-off point is after setting a resolution before you give up on it. And so I want you to think about this year, instead of chasing like a whole new you, right? Instead of setting these broad declarations of resolutions, what if you got focused on what actually works? Something that you can do that compounds over time, that really like brings out the very best version of yourself. That's what I want to talk with you about today. And before I get into that, I want to just set the stage for 2026 by telling you that if you are feeling like it's time to really do it, to make some changes, to have some support around those changes, like this is going to be the year that you move the needle on some things that are genuinely important to you. I want to make sure you're on the wait list for Brave. I've been talking about this for several weeks now. I am really, really energized by what we are bringing into the world through Brave and what we're going to be able to offer to you as a listener of this podcast, a member of this community, somebody who's like, I'm ready for more than just what I can get from the podcast, right? Where I'm getting good ideas, but they're kind of one-sided. And I really want some support in being able to make real change in my life. That's going to be Brave. Right? I want you to love your life this year, and I want to be able to support you in building that life. And Brave is going to be the very best way that I can do it. So if you want to make sure that you don't get swept up in all of the excitement of the new year and miss the enrollment window, get on the wait list today. Just go to brilliant-balance.com/brave. Just to our website, /brave, and just drop your name in so you can be on the wait list. That way we will notify you as soon as that window is open, and we'll give you all the details at that point. Okay. Simple action for today, just to say like, I think this might be for me. I'm going to at least make sure I don't miss the boat. So as we move from like that little announcement into today's topic, I want to give you a way to start right now. Right? Just to get into today without having to have a big resolution list. In fact, I don't want you to set resolutions at all because they're so tricky. And I want you to do something much more powerful instead, right? Think about what a resolution is. How often have you set a resolution over the years that's like, I'm going to get organized, right? I'm going to eat better. I'm going to take better care of myself. Those kinds of resolutions often rely on like a level of motivation that can be fleeting. And they veer toward grandiosity, right? Like we make these big sweeping declarations in resolutions about how everything is going to be better. And that's really not about you. It's really about how resolutions are designed. I think it's like the cultural narrative around resolutions is that they're supposed to be big and sweeping. They kind of promise this big transformation from a single, like almost abstract goal, but that's not really how change happens or how life works, right? Life is really the sum of the choices that you make day in and day out. And so instead of making resolutions this year, I want you to think about making choices. Literally, getting focused on the next choice that you can make. Am I going to do this or do that? A or B? Which one moves me toward the best version of myself? Which one is the most aligned with where I am right now, like in this season of my life, or where I am this month, or where I am today? So as I sit here recording this, it's mid-December, I made a decision 10 minutes ago that I am not going to drive downtown for an appointment that I had in an hour. I'm going to do that appointment by online, like via Zoom, to save myself at a minimum the hour of driving back and forth, right? And that's going to give me back the opportunity to get a couple of things done this afternoon as I'm in these final weeks before the holiday break that are super important, like more important to me than being in person for that appointment. So that's an example of that is a choice right in front of my face today. I had to make, am I going downtown or am I doing this thing online? And there's not a right answer. In other weeks, I absolutely would make the call to drive downtown and have that appointment in person, right? It's worth the drive to get to have that experience in person. So there's not always a choice that's right forever. And that's one of the challenges with resolutions is it doesn't allow for the agility of making adjustments in the moment for what's right for you right now. So I want you to think about, can you sort of narrow in your line of sight on choices instead of thinking about these big sweeping, I shall never again do this thing, or I shall always do this thing. Change doesn't happen in those single declarations. It happens in those little moments where you show up for yourself, right? That never flames out. That is, you're able to kind of bring consistent care, consistent attention, consistent thoughtfulness to these little seeds of choices, and they grow over time into change that's more lasting and more real. Did you know that beyond hosting this podcast, I also directly support women leaders at the intersection of work and life? As a member of BOLD, you get direct access to me, the women on my team, and a peer group of exceptional women who are rewriting the rules and redefining what it means to have it all together. Go to brilliant-balance.com/bold to learn more and apply for your spot today. And the choices that matter most, like whether or not I'm going to drive downtown, is not that big of a deal, right? I might think about, am I going to disappoint the person I was going to meet with? Would they prefer to meet live instead of over Zoom for this meeting? And if that's paralyzing, right, I'll never make an even bigger choice. This is a pretty little one. The stakes are pretty low. But the choices that really move us the farthest forward, right, that matter the most, often do require some courage. They push us out of our comfort zone. They just require us to, I said this a couple weeks ago, they require us to get comfortable being uncomfortable. But they align our actions with what really matters most to us, right? We have to prioritize. What is the thing I want more? Do I want those hours back this afternoon? Do I want the productivity that comes with getting those things done in those hours instead of sitting in the car? Or do I want the in-person connection? And that choice may change from week to week. So here's why no one does this. This is kind of like one of those obvious things, right? This is such a powerful approach. Why doesn't everybody do this? Why are we still, broadly speaking, setting resolutions instead of thinking about this? Because it's invisible, right? Because it's boring and it's slow. And we don't think about it as, it doesn't feel dramatic. It doesn't feel exciting, right? We're not getting on Instagram and posting this is my word of the year and this is my big, broad resolution. We're just sort of quietly, patiently, courageously making these small, difficult choices that most people avoid. And it works exactly because it's invisible and quiet. That's kind of what gives you an edge. While everyone else is chasing these big capital R resolutions that are very likely to fizzle out, you're over here quietly building a life that actually works. And that is how you will make this year, the year you've probably been chasing for a decade now. This is how you really step into having a year that's fully yours on your own terms, and you do it one step at a time. So you don't need a list of resolutions at all. If you had time set aside this week to say, I'm going to make resolutions, I would say you got your time back, right? You need one small choice to start with, one place where you can make a decision that's in alignment with the life that you want. Okay. So I'll give you the classic example, because 95% of you were going to set a resolution about taking better care of yourself or getting healthier or getting more fit or getting in shape, something in this arena. Let's take something like exercising, because it is such a prevalent resolution when people make them. The choice you have to make is, let's say you were going to do it in the morning. When you wake up tomorrow morning, am I going or not? Am I putting on those running shoes or am I getting in the shower? Right? Am I going to go downstairs and get my yoga mat out, or am I going to go downstairs and make coffee? Like, that's the choice. The choice comes down to the where the rubber meets the road decision that you're going to make in this moment about A or B. One of those choices is going to move you closer to what you intended behind that resolution, and one of them is not. And so the more often you make the choice in every moment that unfolds in your day to move a little further, a little closer to the person you want to be, right? The kind of leader you want to be, the kind of parent you want to be, the kind of partner you want to be, the kind of friend you want to be. The more often you line up your next choice with the kind of person you want to be, that compounds day over day, week over week, month over month. That is what leads to real and lasting change. But you don't have to think about doing it forever. You just have to think about doing it one time, just the next time. What's the next best decision, right? You actually don't need a whole new you. You're already in there. We have to make the choices that allow that you to come forward, right? For us to meet and see and interact with that version of you, where you keep showing up a little braver, a little more intentional, right? A little more like alive and aligned every single day. That's how the best version of you will emerge in this year ahead. And my role, my greatest privilege, is to get to support you in doing that. So whether you are a listener of this podcast who's going to continue to listen and extract ideas and go out into the world and put them into practice, or whether you are going to step into this brave community with us and get some extra support, be able to be in two-way dialogue with me and with my team and with other women who are on this pathway, or whether you're going to be in bold with us. If this is your bold year where you're going to step up to our premier level of support and go to these events with us, whatever it looks like for you, I'm going to wake up every day and make the choices that put my best self in front of you, right? I'm going to continue to learn. I'm going to continue to show up. I'm going to continue to steer and pivot Brilliant Balance so that I can continue to be here to serve you. And then you can continue to go out in the world and do what you're meant to do. That ripple effect is powerful, right? When we are all in alignment with our own purpose, when we're using our gifts, when we're not hiding, right? When we're not being scared and small, but we're actually letting ourselves be out there in the world doing the thing that we are meant to do, then we all work in concert together and like everybody wins. You've heard that saying, a rising tide lifts all ships. But there is so much space in here for all of us in this community to have an extraordinary year. And it's going to require each of us to make the choices that are really right for us and to have the courage to do that. And that's what we're going to be here supporting you in doing all throughout the year ahead and the years that come after that. Okay. So if you are coming into this episode a little burdened with the idea of what am I going to set for my resolutions? Shoot, I didn't even do the ones I set last year. I'm such a loser. Lay it all down. This is the last time you ever have to think about resolutions, because by this time next year, you're going to have made a whole series of choices that have moved you and your life in the direction that you were meant to go. And you're going to be living against that vision. And that is going to be such a powerful place to be. Can't wait to do it with you. That's all for today, my friends. Till next time, let's be brilliant.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.